Welcome back to another episode in our series on flying model helicopters. This time we take a look at the Rolling Globe Reversal. This maneuver was added to the F3N sets list back in 2017 and has a K factor of 11, which makes it one of the highest scoring maneuvers. It's made up of 4 rolling loops where the roll direction is reversed after each loop. Also, as the model goes through the low point, its path must have changed by 45 degrees during the loop. This way, after 4 loops and 180 degrees of rotation, the model exits back along the path it entered. Let's have a look at an example and then we can talk about how to go about learning them and some more advanced concepts. So the model enters from the left, parallel to the flight line. Now does a rolling loop and comes down already having made the 45 degree rotation change. Roll direction change, up and over, and it completes the second loop pointing directly at the pilot. Roll direction change. It's made its 45 degree change, roll reversal, up and over, another 45 degree change, and it exits the maneuver parallel to the flight line. So just a few things to take note of before we learn how to do this maneuver. When we go through the bottom of the loop, we want to be going through the same spot each time. However, at the top of the loop, this isn't required. If we have a look at the diagram, you can see because of the 45 degree rotation in each loop, it misses top dead center. So before you start learning this maneuver, you should be proficient at rolling loops in both roll directions and have a decent grasp of them from the left and the right. There is a link to the rolling loops video in the description below if you need to go back to that. The shape of this maneuver is unusual with the 45 degree rotation in the loops. So the first thing you want to do is practice the globe just using regular inside loops. Make sure you're going through the same point at the bottom, but missing top dead center, to make a nice curve and come down with the 45 degree change. Try to get a feel for how much you have to miss the top by to get a decent loop shape while still making the rotation. Try these from both the left and the right to get an idea of what might be more comfortable for you. Next, you'll want to try the individual rolling loops. Fly into them at one of the 4 entry angles and do the rolling loop while making the 45 degree rotation. Here you'll start noticing interesting things, such as it's really difficult to roll one direction and still make a nice 45 degree rotation in the other direction. Rolling in the same direction of the rotation is a lot easier. However, it's easy to get pulled offline as soon as you start the loop, so you need to watch for this. Rolling globe reversal segments is the last exercise before getting to the complete maneuver. Segments are where you take loop 1 and 2 and you practice that as a piece on its own. It allows you to focus on the entry and initial rotation, as well as the reversal. Completion of this segment will then end with the helicopter pointing directly at you. The next segment is loop 2 and 3. So the entry is at 45 degrees towards yourself, and you'll be practicing the reversal while nose in and carrying speed into the second loop. And the last segment will be loop 3 and 4. So the entry will be with the model pointing directly at you, and you'll get to work on making the first part nice and straight for the judges, practicing the reversal and the exit of the maneuver down the flight line. As the complete rolling globe reversal is a long maneuver, segment practice is probably where you should spend most of your time. If you've completed the shape and segment practice, doing a complete rolling globe reversal should now be pretty easy. You'll be looking for consistent height and speed across the maneuver. Now let's look at one of the most interesting bits of this maneuver in more detail, the shape. The question is, where do you put the rotation? The diagram in this case is pretty helpful. If you have a close look, you'll see these lines join. This is the upward part of the first loop and the downward part of the last loop. The bottom of these loops is shown to have the same flight path, which means the 45 degree rotation is all happening in the top half of the loops. This actually works out pretty well, as we can do the first quarter of each loop as a regular rolling loop and get through this critical phase of getting the helicopter heading in the right direction. It removes any bias in the roll versus rotation direction as well. The second benefit is the rotation is started quite late, so you don't end up a long way from top dead center. If you're thinking about adding this to your set maneuvers, note that it takes about 40 to 50 seconds to complete, and also takes a lot out of your packs. You need to fit 7 maneuvers into your sets flight, and unless you feel very strongly about the rolling globe reversal, it might be a good idea to choose something shorter that will give you a bit more flight time. Thanks for making it this far through the video. Don't forget to subscribe to get notifications on new videos, and as usual, all our videos will be available on YouTube and rchelicopterhub.com. Until next time, good luck.